So today morning we have saw the features and capabilities of the secure chart. Now we are going to see the architecture of the secure chart, means which all uh, techniques we are using, technologies, and how the flow is going. So we are going to see everything. So coming to the overview, what we are going to see in this presentation. So, enterprise AI system platform, how it is connected to each other, multiple AI models, knowledge based agents, secure document intelligence, browser based private AI that we saw in morning, that the private LLM, and workspace collaboration and role based access control. So, when we come to secure chart, the first thing is role based access control. Everyone is not able to see everything, only the access people will be able to see the uh, steps in the secure chart. So coming to the high level architecture diagram. So in client end, when user asks questions in the secure chat UI, the request will first go to the API proxy. API proxy is our middleman where all the requests will be redirected to the Light LLM. Light LLM is a it supports the OpenAI format response. It is connected to multiple AI providers like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, Azure OpenAI, and multiple other model providers. And when we choose the specific model, let's say in request in SecureChat you have selected the model as a ChatGPT latest, then that request will be go to API proxy. With that request, you in payload you'll be passing the your prompt, whatever questions you are asking. With that, we are going to pass the system prompt. So we are not going to pass the entire system prompt. The entire logic will be there. To fetch the prompt, we have the logic in API proxy. So we just need to pass the prompt title. Like in secure chat, we are using system underscore prompt. That is the prompt title. We are going to pass that in the payload. And based on that prompt title, API proxy is going to fetch the actual prompt in the backend, then pass that prompt to the RAT LLM gateway. This routes the request to the chat GPT, that is provider is OpenAI. Then response will come back to RAT LLM. Then again it will be received at the API proxy. Here, what we will do once this response is received, the light LLM is going to give us the completion token, and based on that and usage, the um, prompt usage means completion token and how much tokens we have given at the starting. Based on that, we are going to calculate the cost in our API proxy, and that cost will be inserted into the billing database. We are using user management API. So in user management API, we have endpoint called billing. So using that billing endpoint, we are going to insert that billing record for each chart transaction. Like we have multiple kinds of transaction: AI generation cost, knowledge base retrieval, image generation, and web search. There are multiple transaction type. Based on which transaction type you are making the request, the record will be inserted into the billing database. The billing database is the D1 SQL Cloudflare database. Okay, then response will go back to secure chat UI. Then here it will render. The render confirmation will be come back to API proxy. Then in this billing database, we have render status. That render status after completion, we want to ensure, right, whether that response is rendered to the client or not, because we are charging the user for that. So we want to uh, give the transparency, means whether only rendered response we are going to give them in a billing. So we'll be marking the render status, whether it is rendered or failed or not rendered. The status will be updated in billing dashboard. And once the response is rendered, after that we are going to save. In morning I have told all the chart sessions are indexed into knowledge base and getting stored in the auto object storage. So for that we are going to save the chart history in R2 Explorer API. We have R2 Explorer API called. It is hosted in Cloudflare and it is connected to R2 Object Storage. So R2 object storage, it is like in Amazon S3 we have bucket, right? The same way in Cloudflare we have R2 object storage. Here we are going to store the JSON format of that chat history. So this is the high level architecture diagram of the secure chat. So let's go to next point. The what are the Git repositories we are using for our secure chat application? So this is the front end repo, that is GIS Humanize IQ AI2 Secure Chat. This is for API proxy, and we are using R2 Explorer API. Here, all the file related endpoints are present, and in R2 Explorer API, we have the knowledge processor, knowledge base endpoints, and RAG endpoints also to fetch the information back from vector storage. All the file related, document related API endpoints are present in R2 Explorer API. In future, if you want to use any file related API, just check this API. Here will be having multiple endpoints. You can reuse those endpoints. So here we are creating all the endpoints is centralized. So not only SecureChat is using these, multiple other applications are also using these core APIs. So API proxy, secure API proxy is also the core API. So for user management API, this is for role-based access and model configuration, which all models we are using. For that, we are using the user management API. So let's see the deployment architecture. So front end is deployed in the Cloudflare worker. Then I told R2 Explorer API, user management API. These are also the Node.js. We are using the Node.js for this. So these are also deployed in the Cloudflare worker. But the secure API proxy, this is the Python. We use the Python for this. So it is a Docker Compose stack that is deployed in the Portainer. So let's go to next, which all environments we have. Basically, we have four main environments. So one is not there here. So whenever you want to make any change to the any repository, just create teacher underscore whatever implementation you want to do. Let's say in secure chat, if you want to update the diagram generation, then you are going to create the teacher branches, teacher underscore diagram drafter, whatever name you want to give, just start with teacher branch. So once you make changes in teacher branch, you are going to raise a PR, pull request, PR from teacher branch to playtest. And playtest is like a testing environment. Here, once we merge the change, and here we will see all the change, and we are going to use playtest.humanize.iq.ai with our slug. We are for secure chat, we have secure underscore chat. This is the slug. So we will test in the playtest. If it works there, then we will raise a PR from playtest to dev. One of the senior person will review this PR from playtest to dev. Feature to playtest you can do by yourself PR, but for playtest to dev, you need to review it with senior person. Then once it is merged, then we need to test in dev environment. And once we confirm it is working in dev, then we'll be raising a PR from dev to main. Then again we'll be testing in the our Humanize IQ production. Let's say if some of the application, let's say secure chat is we are also given it to the customer. Our customer is E-team. So if I want to push the changes to E-team, then I will raise, once I confirm it is working in our production, then I will raise PR from main to E-team, then it will be deployed. These all are the basic deployment environments. Okay. So as I already discussed, there are two kinds of storage we are using currently. So in storage layer, we are using Cloudflare R2 object storage. This is the S3 compatible object storage, like how we have the AWS S3. Like the same way for Cloudflare, we are also using D1 SQL database. Here we will be storing all the knowledge base, workspaces, as well as the model config, role models, and role permissions. All these information will be there in D1 SQL database. So let's see which all databases we have in Cloudflare. For user management, this is for production. Let's say uh, whenever you see underscore prod, this is for production database. If it is a playtest, for playtest, each and every environment will be having its own database and backend. Everything will be deployed separately. So for production, we can see underscore prod for at the end of the each database. So we want to make sure that all these databases are present in the single D1 SQL. So we need to make it to identify them, we are using this naming convention. See, in user management pro database, we have model config. What is there in model config? Model config is all about which all models we have in the in our organization. Like whenever Light LLM, whatever models we have in Light LLM, all those models we are going to enter into the user management app model config table. So using this, we are going to fetch the associated models for each app and each user into the secure chat. So we are also having role models. So we want to make sure which role is having which all model access and which all roles are having which all permissions. For that, we have multiple tables. Coming to the Auto Explorer database, here we are storing workspaces. So in morning I have showed you these all are the workspaces. All workspaces are getting stored. Folder workspaces are getting stored in the workspace database in the Auto Explorer database. And folders and knowledge bases are also present in the Auto Explorer Pro database. Okay. Let's see how the request flow works in the secure chart. So whenever you ask any questions in the UI, which API endpoints we are using to make the request. So I will show you the network tab itself. Okay. So whenever we are making any request, so we are calling API proxy Aura F1 chart completion k is equal to 2 and debug is equal to true. For this request, we are passing these all details. Role is system and content is system prompt. As I already told, we are not passing the system prompt because we don't want to give our system prompt to public users. So we are only passing the title. In API proxy end, we are fetching the actual prompt based on this prompt title. And we are sending the user request here and model, whichever model you have chosen. This model will be passed here and streaming, whether we are using the streaming or not. And we have k parameters. K is equal to 1 and k is equal to 2. There are different API endpoints which we have in our API proxy that I'm going to explain in next Monday. The whole session is there for API proxy. I'm going to explain there. But just understand for k is equal to 2, this is the complex endpoint where whenever we request will be go to this chart completion k is equal to 2, first time it is going to perform RAG search. Means previously will be having multiple chart conversation. As I already told, all the chart conversation are getting stored in the my workspace knowledge base. So first it will perform RAG search. If it finds anything which is related to your request, then it will fetch those context. Then with that context, it will perform whether if your request requires any real-time data, then it will perform web search. For web search, we are using Tavily Search API. So with that, we are getting the real-time up-to-date information. After that, we are going to perform the send this request to Light LLM. So in Light LLM, whichever model you have chosen, that appropriate model provider you are going to pass that request, and Light LLM will receive the response from that model provider and then send the response back to API proxy. In API proxy, again, we'll be calculating that cost and based on token usage, and that billing record will be inserted into the user management billing table, as well as the response will be given back to secure chat, and render confirmation will be again given back to API proxy to insert the record in the user management billing table. Understood? Is there any doubt here? You can ask any doubt if you have. I can answer right now. If no, then I will proceed. Any doubt, guys? Okay. Okay, fine. If you understood, then I will move to next. Okay, let's see what is private LLM. So in today's section, first morning, I have showed you that we are using private LLM. It is going to run in your web. It will going to use in your browser GPU to run. So this browser based LLM is a we have recently means 2 years back there is a web LLM which is introduced. So it is from machine learning compilation MLC AI. This is the open source project which they have given to the market. So using this we can run any model in the browser using the local GPU, and it will entirely run in your local system. So for our private LLM, that is web LLM, we are using Qwen 2.5, 1.5 billion parameter instruct model. So no prompt is sent to cloud LLM when web LLM mode is selected, as I already mentioned, and it uses the web GPU, and it is there is a constraint called it depends on your hardware. Based on your machine capabilities, it is going to give you the response. Let's see the browser LLM architecture, means web LLM, how it is being implemented. So whenever you select the private LLM, it is going to load, it will take some time. All the files of that particular model, that Qwen 2.5, 1.5 billion parameter instruct model, all the model files are going to be downloaded into your local browser machine, and those will be cached. And whenever you send request, React UI for front end we are using React. So React UI component will render in the browser. So we have the custom hook for dashboard state and logic. We use web LLM, that hook the connect the UI to web LLM capability. We have one file called web LLM service in our repository. So that is a service layer to manage the model loading and inference. So we have the MLC, the machine learning compilation runtime. This is the high performance runtime using the web GPU acceleration, and it is going to pass that to the model, and LLM is going to locally run in your browser. This is just architecture, just to know about you. So let's see how the model gets loaded. So when users select the model, as I already told, first it will check, trigger, initialize the process, and it will ensure it is ready or not. Then download the models, model config, tokenizer, weight charts are downloaded, if not cached. If you clear your cache, every time it is going to download. To download, as I already told, it is going to take some time. So after that, it is going to initialize the web GPU, checks the browser or device support, as already mentioned, and initialize the web GPU and MLC runtime. This is a machine learning compilation runtime. So loads you whichever requested model. For us, we are using Qwen model. Model is loaded into memory and ready for inference. So once it is ready, it is going to give you the response as the user is requested. So as I already told, if machine is very fast, it is going to take few seconds, 10 to 30 seconds longer on slower networks. Network speed is also matters because we need to download those models, open source models into our machine. So it is going to take, it is based on the network speed as well. So end to end, how it works, as I already mentioned, the request will come to the Quen model. Here in Quen model, if you ask any question which requires some real-time data, the Quen model which is there in the local machine does not have any real-time information. For that, we have integrated a multiple tools which are there in our API proxy. If it requires any uh, real-time data, then it is going to call the knowledge base retrieval, then web search for Tavily for getting real-time information. If you ask any image generation stuff, then it is going to call the image generation tool, which we have in our API proxy. If you did not ask anything, then it is going to give you the answers based on analyze your question. If it has the answer, then it is going to stream that answer token by token in your chart UI, and the session will be saved to the R2 object storage. And if you given any information that needs to be remembered, then that will be stored in the memory section of the secure chart. So let's see, as I'm moving, I already mentioned, we have agent creation flow. Like when we click on create specialized agent, that time how the process works. That is that I'm going to explain now. So agent creation flow, as we can say agent builder flow. So whenever you select that create specialized agent, then you are going to give the agent name, description, and prompt. And after that, it is going to ask you the attachment if you want to give. Else, it is optional. Whenever you want to upload, you can just upload directly in the attach, and it is going to be stored to that specific knowledge base. So after that, we are going to call the API R2 Explorer knowledge base. This API is going to be used for creating a knowledge base in the database. So once it is created, so it is going to store the documents in the R2 object storage, and it is going to create the knowledge base and link the prompt and metadata whatever you have attached in the chart panel into the knowledge base database table. So once it is created, you are able to see in the right hand side. Morning, I have created this document analyzer. Here it is present over here. So let's see the knowledge base documents, how once you upload the document, how it is going to processed and how the retrieval process is going on. Let's see everything step by step. So once you may call any request, let's say, okay, here I asked hi, then this it given the response. After that, we are going to call save user doc. This is the save user doc, this API endpoint, which is going to store all the chart histories into the R2 bucket, as well as it is going to store that information to my workspace knowledge base, and how it is going to be stored. If you in that, we are going to pass the knowledge base is equal to true in the payload of the each request. For this API endpoint in the front end, we are going to pass knowledge base is equal to true. If it is true, then in backend in R2 Explorer API, it is going to check whether that knowledge base is there or not. If it is there, then it is generate the R2 Explorer path for that specific chart history. So then that will be stored in the bucket, then JSON in metadata format. Then we are going to store knowledge data. Here in this table, we are going to insert the record with this path. So in future, if you want to access, we can directly use this table to get the path, and using this path, it is going to redirect to R2 object storage. So from here, we will check whether your uploaded document is binary file or not. If it is binary file like PDF, document, image, PPT, then we are going to use Data Lab parser. Why we are using Data Lab parser? So we are using Data Lab parser to extract the Markdown text content from Markdown format. Let's say if you upload any image, in image there is a text. So you can directly use this. This is the service provider. This is Data Lab parser. From here, we are going to call send our request. Then it is going to extract the text from that markdown. That passed text will be updated in this update the document, and it will be there in the knowledge base processor queue. Cloudflare has a facility called queue. So in queue we have created for secure for knowledge base retrieval for rack purpose. We have created queue that is called knowledge base processor queue, and from here it is going to be in queue to the vector processing engine pipeline. For vector purpose, we are using TurboPupper, Data Lab parser for parsing the document, and TurboPupper for indexing and vector storage, indexing the chunking and embedding the context. Everything is going to be done by this TurboPupper service. This is also the third-party service which we are using in our end. So it is just a ready-made. We are just calling the API. We are going to send these queues to documents in a queue to this TurboPupper from Cloudflare queue. Then it will be chunked here if it is required. Then embed using the models which the TurboPupper has built in. Then upsert the vector to TurboPupper vector storage. Then once there's it is stored successfully in the vector storage, we are going to get the response back as indexing status. When it is in queue, we'll be having indexing status as a pending. But once it is indexed means during morning it was showing that it is processing. When it was in pending, it will be in processing. Once the vector store when embedding complete and it will be stored successfully in the vector storage of the TurboPupper, that time we'll be get the status as a index. That time we are going to see the in front end as a sync. So this is all about vector processing pipeline. So whenever you are going to ask any questions, right here in the my agent section, for today I have asked for ET. So how it work? So all the documents are present in the vector storage. This part is going to be done whenever you are uploading the document. But whenever you are asking any question, that time it is directly we have predefined set of API endpoints which are written in the R2 Explorer API. For RAG search, we have semantic hybrid search. It uses the BM25 as well as the semantic search. That's why we named it as a hybrid semantic search. This is the advanced version. Then we have semantic smart light search. And for this, we are going to pass the request workspace ID, KB department, KB entity, and owner type and knowledge base. What are these KB department and KB entity types? For when we index our document, we for that specific knowledge base, we have knowledge base ID associated with that. So let's say I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is the yeah, this is the knowledge base ID. This ID is present in the stored in the. We are also storing in our R2 Explorer D1 D1 SQL database as well as in the TurboPupper. This ID will be knowledge. This we call as a knowledge base ID. In this PPT, here we have KB department. KB department is equal to knowledge base ID. We are going to pass the knowledge base ID here. So whenever we are searching for that, searching using this API, we need to pass these all these necessary details in the payload of that API endpoints. So it is going to search the specific knowledge base in that with owner type, whether that specific knowledge base is user based or company based. If it is not shared with everyone, then it will be user. If it is shared across the company, then it will be company owner type. So the knowledge base, you once you pass these details, it is going to search in this query the KB department knowledge base in TurboPuppet. Then it is going to retrieve the chunks, top relevant chunks based and plus metadata from the vector storage, that is TurboPuppet from here. Then you are going to see that response in the front end. It is very simple. There is no much complicated stuff present over here. We are just using the turbo purpose service. Here it is going to create the knowledge base. Whenever you are creating knowledge base, at the same time you are going to create the knowledge base in turbo purpose whenever you are uploading document. At that time, whenever you are asking the questions, once that knowledge base is created, it is going to use that knowledge base ID to get the response back for that question, user question. Then, so let's see the summary. When user upload the file, be storing in that R2, then metadata will be stored in the database. Which database? R2 Explorer prod database. There we have knowledge data table and knowledge workspace table, multiple table present over here. So here we are going to store that metadata. Then if it is a binary file, then we are going to call data lab parser API. If it is not, then we are directly going to the Cloudflare queue, that is knowledge processor queue for indexing purpose. Here all the documents will be in queue one by one. All the documents will be given to the TurboPuppet vector generation. So once the generation is complete, it will be stored in the TurboPuppet vector DB. Then here when you ask the search using the search API, when you we can retrieve and it will be there to the user. So as I already mentioned, here we have multiple endpoints. Save user doc for upload, saving the document chart histories to the R2 as well as to the TurboPuppet. And here we have the knowledge base, upload the specific knowledge base document. Then we can update the existing document, and we have which endpoint we are using for data lab parser. That endpoint is also present here. So these all endpoints are present in the R2 Explorer API. So any doubts here? If you have any doubts, I can explain you. You can ask. Guys, all are bored? Speak up, guys. If you have any doubts, you can ask. I can explain you right now.
No doubts.
Okay. Okay. We have reached the end of the session. So now let's see how we are implementing role-based access in our secure chart. So authentication and RBAC flow. So I will just show you whenever we first come to secure chart. We have endpoint called me endpoint. This is RBAC me endpoint. As I already mentioned, we are using user management database where all the user information, model information, and all the permissions, roles of the users are present over here. So using this endpoint, we are going to get all the information of that specific user. Let's say I am authenticated here using my auth cookie. It is going to give me all the permissions, models of which are given to me. Here I have these roles, these are permissions, and I have these all models. Whatever models we are going to see in this drop down, this is not hard coded. Everyone except this private LLM, which is there for everyone. Other models based on roles, means whatever you are given access to, only you are able to see this. Some people can see two models, some people can see multiple models. It is based on this API response, that is RBAC me. So when user, I will also show you one more endpoint, that is Auth AI Studio. Whenever new user come to the secure chart, that time we are going to create the user record in our user management database table. Let's say you guys today you did not given access to the secure chat, right? Today first time you have entered into the secure chat. That time whenever you logged in, that time it is going to call this endpoint, and your data will be created in our user management table, and some roles will be by default your role will be user. Then all the permissions models are given access to you, because here we have implemented roles, all the existing roles, user roles we have. And after that I will show here in diagram. So auth AI Studio, set the auth state. If it is authorized, fetch the external roles. Why we are using external roles? So for internal purpose, we are using user management database, but for sometimes we are giving this to customer. That time customer will be having the different database, and they will be in different API endpoints. For with that API endpoints, we need to update our user management database also, right? To update their roles into our system. So for that, we are calling for humanize API, we have company permission API, where we have this endpoint called user roles endpoint. This role, it is going to give for all the authorized user which role they belong. That role will be written by this API endpoint. And HR roles, this is only for the E team. Whenever we are open this secure chart in a E team environment, that time only we are going to call employee HR lookup API, because in E team we have different agents like HR agent India, HR agent EMA, and APAC. There are multiple HR agents. So for based on their location and their roles, we want to give them the specific agents access. For that, we have implemented these roles. So this role synchronization will be done in our user management. If this authorized, then we will be update. If there are roles which are not there in our user management roles table for that user, then we are going to add those missing roles into our user management roles table. Then we will merge those roles with these external roles. Then it will be stored in the database, and accordingly we will get the roles. Means again we will get that RBAC me response back. So here we are using different API endpoints. As I already mentioned, our BACME is for getting all the information about that roles, models, permissions, and post. What is this post? Let's say some of the roles which are not there, uh, some of the, let's say, take one example. Who is there? Okay, Vaishnavi. So Vaishnavi is coming from, let's say she is coming from E team and she has different roles. But in our database, when she come to our system, we have already inserted the role as a user. In future, if her role changed to different, user also is also there in this response API response. One more role will also come, that is E team user. So that time we need to update. For that, we are using this endpoint for this user ID. User ID will be Vaishnavi's user ID, and in role name will be E team user. That role name we are going to insert, that will be inserted to user managed roles table. So after that, we are going to, if the role is not there in the database, then we are going to post that role. If after that we are going to call this, if it's role already there, then we are directly calling this API endpoint. So after that we are going to get the this is for the external, to get to know about the role of that Vaishnavis. Else HR lookup API is for getting to know about the roles of the E team employees. So these are API we are going to use for managing the roles and role synchronization in the secure chart. So is there any questions for this?